Welcome back to World Traveler. This is Dennis Callan for the Hawaii Geographic Society, taking you to a couple of great cities on the USA East Coast, Philadelphia and Washington, starting out with a walk through the Society Hill area of Philadelphia. Just south of Independence Park, you'll find the largest collection of colonial houses in America. We're in Society Hill. It was called Society Hill because it was land that William Penn granted to a stock company called the Society of Free Traders. And their goal was to promote trade in Pennsylvania. And they apparently built a lot of very substantial houses here in this neighborhood. Society Hill today is beautifully preserved. It has a mix of shops and there's some cafes and little restaurants. Mostly it's a residential neighborhood. There's no hill left at Society Hill, but the people with money still live here, and they have spent a lot of their money in renovating these houses. So for a relaxed, historic stroll through the back streets of colonial Philadelphia, you've got to come to Society Hill. You'll find the oldest hospital in America. You'll find shops with Chippendale pediments, classic antique shops. Colonial-style brick walkways weave through the neighborhood, and you can stroll on the major streets or these narrow back walkways. There's plenty to see with the shops and the history. Nearly 1,000 buildings have been renovated in the old style, making this one of the finest examples in America of urban renewal. Even the new buildings are constructed to look like the old buildings. And then just on the southern edge of Society Hill, you're going to find a change of pace. You're going to find a neighborhood that's got outdoor restaurants and lots of hip shops. What's the place where all the hippies meet? What's the place that can't be beat? It's South Street, according to that golden oldies from the 60s. And today this passes as the Greenwich Village of Philadelphia. South Street, John's Bar and Grill, is a fine spot to eat outdoors. And then take a stroll for about 6 blocks along South Street, and you'll be rewarded with all kinds of shopping opportunities. And these stores are mostly unique handcrafted items. There's very few chain stores along South Street, and so it provides you with a unique experience. Nowadays in America, it's getting harder and harder to find a Main Street type of atmosphere where there's lots of action, the shops are bustling. With our big box stores and our giant shopping malls, the main streets of America have withered up and died by and large, but not here in Philadelphia. Throughout the city, you'll find a whole number of streets similar to South Street, but nothing quite matches this one for the ambience and the eclectic nature of these shops. What you have are stores that seem to be like small-town mom and pop shops, but they really have got fantastic collections that rival the big stores of any major city. In the face of the marketing tidal wave and the retail revolution where there's a gap on every corner, South Street has managed to maintain its counterculture character. There's a crazy mix here of boutiques, pubs, music clubs, restaurants. Watch out for the street performers. There's a theater with legitimate performances, chic clothing stores to find that outfit you've been looking for, or a crowded sidewalk hamburger stand for a bite that can't be beat. You probably won't see any hippies here any longer. They've been replaced by the yuppies and the guppies and by the young trendies. And people of all sizes and shapes, so it makes a really fun place just for people watching as well too. And the nice thing is that you can walk here from downtown because Philadelphia is a rather compact city. And then once you get to South Street, all the pleasures are to be found on foot. On weekends during the warm summer months, they actually shut it down to vehicles from 8th Street to Front Street, and it creates a wide walkway that grows pretty wild in the evening. A lot of discos open their doors at night. Zipperhead, another one of the famous shops, showcase comics. But during any season, come on down to South Street and see what you can find. You might get lucky with a Greek lunch for $5.95. What a deal. There's the Philadelphia Pizza Company. The number of restaurants is too long to list, but here's a few more. There's American Bistro, Tiramisu, South Street Souvlaki, Lickety Split, Ipso, Philabel, Tower Records is here. And yet that's not even the main shopping part of town. This is the Center City with Chestnut Street, Market Street, Broad Street, Walnut Street. And here you find in the center one of the first great department stores in the country, Wanamaker's. Constructed between 1902 and 1910, the building is based on an Italian Renaissance style of palazzo. This is one of the first interior atriums ever built in America. Unfortunately, the Wanamaker's department store today has been closed down and only the first floor is open to retail traffic. Offices occupy the upper levels. Parts of Philadelphia have gone up, up, up. This is the highest building in town. Parts of Philadelphia are ancient. This one looks like the ancient Pantheon in Rome. It's the Girard Trust Company, completed in 1908. The tallest building in Philadelphia used to be the City Hall until 1987. There used to be a gentleman's agreement that nothing higher than City Hall could be constructed. But now Liberty Place, 60 stories high. It's a glass box that's a postmodernist interpretation of the Chrysler Building in New York City. Inside there's hotels and offices and shops and restaurants. Walking along Chestnut Street is a very pleasant experience with all the trees, and nearby you'll find Rittenhouse Square, one of the 4 main squares in the central city. This is a very classy and elegant neighborhood, surrounded by ultra-expensive apartments and high-class hotels. When William Penn personally laid out the design for his city back in the late 17th century, he divided the central part of town into 4 large quadrants, and in the center of each quadrant there was a main park. Rittenhouse Square is one of those parks, and today it's the most popular park for local residents. Workers from nearby offices will show up for lunch, or you can just sit back and relax on one of the benches or one of the walls. Perhaps if you're getting married, you might want to have your wedding photos taken here. The park has a European ambiance. It's not just one big green lawn. It's divided into smaller areas. There's fountains here, statues there, there's benches, there's walkways, all of which make Rittenhouse Square one of the finest urban parks in America. And now let's take a look at the largest city hall in America. It's also the largest municipal building in the world. It's an amazing structure. It took 30 years to build it, and it cost $23 million back at the turn of the century. That was a lot of money. It's built in this European style called the Second Empire, which is reminiscent of neoclassical, Italian Renaissance, Florentine palazzo, all combined into this massive pile of stone. It contains more than 600 rooms with 14 major entrances, and the outside is covered with a wonderfully complex mix of pediments and columns, dormers, and statues, including the world's largest statue on a building, the statue of William Penn that stands at the top of the tower that's 548 feet high. City Hall stands at the exact center of Philadelphia, so the network of streets expands out from here in a rectangular grid system. Many things to see in the neighborhood all around City Hall. Another interesting nearby building constructed in a similar architectural style but much smaller is the Union League Club. It was built in the 1860s, and today it's a private club for affluent attorneys and businessmen. And now we're going to take you into the most popular luncheon spot in town. It's the Reading Terminal Farmers Market, which is a big food emporium, and it's been here for over 100 years in continuous business. You can get lunch here, or you can buy groceries, you can buy souvenirs and knickknacks. They've got Amish bakeries, and the Philadelphia cheesesteak, which is one of the great institutions of the state of Pennsylvania. It's a submarine sandwich with beef, cheese, and onions, and here at Rick's you get the real thing.
My father took over the business since 1932, like I said. I'm the third generation in the business.
Also nearby in Fairmount Park is the Philadelphia Museum of Art. It's one of the great art museums in America with 500,000 square feet of space and arts from all different periods, European, American, and Asian. And we'll show you more of that collection later in the series on World Traveler when we present a more detailed look at Philadelphia. For now, we're leaving town and going to Atlantic City, the gambler's heaven on the East Coast. It's like a mini Las Vegas. They've got a convention center. They've got a number of brand new hotels and casinos, of course. There's Follies, there's Caesars. Trump has got a whole bunch of hotels here at Atlantic City. My favorite is Caesars because I like to go in and have a nice Italian meal, and that's a good spot to do it. And the architecture interior of Caesars is just fabulous. It looks like you're back in an ancient Roman temple, a temple dedicated to the gods of gambling. But you don't even have to gamble to have fun in Atlantic City. It's just a nice place to visit. Next morning, a nice breakfast fortifies us for a full day tour out into the countryside. In our visit to Philadelphia, we stay at the Holiday Inn Historic District. It's conveniently located just a block away from the Liberty Bell and 2 blocks away from Independence Hall. It's really a nice place to stay, and they have a lovely breakfast here. Comfortable facilities. We're going to Lancaster County and visit the home of the Amish, a really fascinating group of people.
And this is Amish farmland now on both sides of the road. The Amish do consider the farm to be the best place to raise a family. These farms are very small. They average about 50 acres. And the view out to your right now is over the Conestoga Valley. This is the most productive farmland in the United States which is not irrigated.
So what are the horses doing there?
They're raking up this corn fodder, which will then be baled.
It's a remarkable sight to see the horse-drawn plow. The Amish don't believe in gasoline-powered engines, and so they lead a much more simple life here.
Now the corn and the hay is not for sale. It is stored in the barns and the silos to feed the dairy cows. If you look across the fields at almost any farm, you'll see that small dairy herd. Each one of these Amish farmers milks between 25 and 35 cows twice each day, and that's how they make their money. You see, the reason the Amish like the farm as a place to raise a family is because on the farm, Dad's at home all day. So the man who owns this business lives right next door. The purpose behind Amish life here primarily is to keep the family together. And what this way of life is all about is what's in the best interest of family life. Don't miss the Amishman down here on the left mowing his yard with an old push mower. That's part of that work ethic, of course. And here on this road, we are coming to the last electric pole right now. And of course, there's no more electricity on out through here. Now that brings me to the question of electricity. Again, we see no electricity here. Everybody wants to know what's wrong with electricity. Well, if you have children, you probably can figure it out. There are certain things that electricity bring with it that the Amish do not want. They do not want their children to have radio, television, stereo, computers, or computer games. They say those things are not conducive to a healthy family life. Now, folks, the Amish feel the same way about the automobile. The Amish feel that the automobile is a threat to family life. If you own a car, you very well may go away from home to work. And the tendency of the automobile in our country has been to pull the family apart. And the Amish want to keep everything close to home, and they want to keep it family-centered. And the Amish still think the farm is the best way to raise a family. They consider farming to be the best occupation. Amish do have modern appliances in their homes. There will always be a washing machine, a sewing machine, a hot water heater, a refrigerator, and a range. But none of them will be powered by electricity. Now folks, all of these carriages are equipped with headlights, tail lights, turn signals, four-way flashers, and they do have hydraulic brakes. The price for a new carriage with all those safety devices would be about $3,500. Now, of course, at that price, you receive no horsepower. A horse is going to cost you a bit more. They are now holding on to about 85% of their young people. That is far more critical than the number of children they have. Although the younger children are in school this morning, I'm referring to first grade through 8th grade. Those children are in school right now, but the other children will be working along with their parents on these farms. The house on the right coming up is an Amish house. You can always tell by the clotheslines and the clothing on them. They have very distinctive types of dress. The first ship bringing Amish to America arrived in Philadelphia in the year 1737, and by the end of that century, they had made their way up here to Lancaster and have been living here ever since.
And then we had a chance to go visit an Amish farm.
Sam's mules are out here in the pasture. He does all of his farm work with these 6 mules you see here. I'm going to go into the barn. I see Sam's working out here. He's putting some new windows in. And if I can't answer your questions about farming, the farmer's right here to answer them for me. So we'll give you some time here that you can browse both the buildings and the quilt shop, which is the new building back here to your right.
The Amish Shop is one of those very special places on this planet, for it's an intersection of values. It's a place where we can really indulge ourselves in some wonderful shopping, things produced by the Amish and by their neighbors, handcrafted goods, and yet the ironic contradiction is the Amish people themselves are not materialistic people at all. They are basic, salt of the earth. They make their own plain clothing. They do their own work on the farm. They ride in these horse and buggies. So these are anti-materialistic people, and yet they host a beautiful shop that we really enjoyed visiting, and we're able to have this rare opportunity to enter an Amish farm and see the home and see the people. Really a magnificent experience. And it was capped off at the Kitchen Kettle Village, where we had an amazing lunch. This is like a 12-course meal. It was like home cooking, family style. And nearby is a big shopping mall where you can pick up all sorts of handcrafted items. These 2 country villages in Lancaster County of intercourse and bird in hand have got about 100 of these stores. So it really makes a fascinating element to your visit, where you can buy some of these handcrafted items that you'll only find out here. And then driving home to Philadelphia, we passed through the town of Lancaster. It's a small city, low-rise, residential in character, and yet it's the heart of Lancaster County. A full day's visit has really been a gratifying and spectacular day. Re-entering reality, we get into our taxis and head to the station, going to 30th Street Station to catch our train down to Washington. And how did you like the visit to Philadelphia?
I like the Amish tour. It taught me something about the people that I didn't know about. And I feel that everybody should take that tour at least once.
I learned a lot about the history of America and everything about what Ben Franklin did for us.
I like the Amish tour. It's the first time I've actually seen the people. I've heard about them, I've read about them, and it was an experience just to see them, their lifestyle.
The highlight of Philadelphia was the Lancaster tour. And as I say, it's a different lifestyle, and hopefully maybe we should live that way.
I was interested in our son Roy learning more about what he read in the books and in his studies, what actually happened in those rooms and those places. So for me, it was an added benefit to have him benefit from this tour.
We loved going to Lancaster, the Amish country, and enjoyed it thoroughly, listening to the guide talk to us about the Amish people.
How about the history, too? Independence Hall and the American Constitution.
That was worth coming to Philadelphia for, and the walk through the city streets.
I really enjoyed the Reading terminal with all the goodies that you can eat and all these little doodads and the Amish bakery. And oh, I really enjoyed the Amish experience. I thought our guide just was so thorough, almost so thorough you didn't have to read the book. And the food that they served us for lunch, what did we count? 12 courses, including dessert. That was terrific.
Philly? Yeah. It's great. Independence Hall and that kind of first-hand experience, the way how the guide tells us about the history, it makes me want to go up and sign that bloody document myself.
I like the Amish country, and I like their food out there. It was pretty good.
I like the cheesesteaks. and what else did I like? The cheesecake. I'm thinking about food.
It's very nice. A lot of history. I loved it. It's good.
I like Philadelphia. That's it. I like Philadelphia. History was good, shopping was good, and I think the weather was good. I enjoyed Philadelphia.
We're traveling with a small group from Hawaii. Our group size on these trips is usually between 20 people and 30 people, keeping it a nice, friendly, comfortable size, and it's generally all people from Hawaii, so we form one ohana on the road and take care of each other and really enjoy each other's company and share the journey.